Yeah, hi friends, it's Harpreet Singh. So today I want to talk about Census 2020 because it's a very important topic and it's an ongoing activity in the whole United States. And our Sikh community, I think, needs to get involved if we want to show our numbers, our presence in the community. I think we should definitely get involved, and also the law requires us to get involved. So I will talk about census. First of all, what is a census? The census is basically an activity to count population because, as you know, means we have borders, different countries have different people living in there. So government entities want to know what are those people and where they are residing and what kind of people in terms of gender, race, ethnicity, and different other groups which you can think about of human beings are living in a particular piece of land. So obviously you want to know that, and for those kind of purposes, now I think almost every country I know of has some kind of census practice which goes on after every 10 years. So in United States, the census is mandated by constitution since late 1700s. And in addition to that, it is required by law that you provide information whenever a census bureau asks you after every 10 years based on Title 17 in United States Code. So it's written somewhere that you have to provide this information, and it's required by law. So let's see next about census, how it works out, and where you have to answer these questions which asked by U.S. Census Bureau. So I will show you a timeline, and probably you are familiar with this timeline because in whole social media it's circulating around. But let's go through this timeline. So the invitations are probably mailed now. So it was supposed to be mailed from March 12 to 20th. So basically you are receiving a one-page letter which just mention resident, your address, and then it just indicates about that, okay, we are asking you to answer some census questions, and they will provide a unique code to you, so that you plug in that unique code and it will automatically will show you the address of your home, because it will just pre-fill those things. Because of that, it has that code because it's just pulling that information from your specific kind of a profile or account. And so then what you have to do, you have to just fill in basic information about race, gender, and also add in other family members which are living in that same household. So once you receive that invitation, if suppose you don't respond, or if you don't just input that information online, if you have received those code, then you will receive a reminder letters. But still, I think even if you, because if you have received the letter, and you are busy in your own work and you have not responded it for 1 week and you have not submitted the census, you will receive another letter which will again the same kind of information, and it would be providing you a code so that you can go and fill in online on the US Census website these particular basic information. So after that, in March 16 to April 3rd, so it would be just probably the next week, the reminder postcards will be sent. So these are the postcards which again, they are just keep on reminding you, please fill in the information. And it will also on the envelope of the US Census 2020, it will mention that it is required by law that you answer these questions. So next April 1st is the census day. They want you to just complete that census by that day. After April 1st, then the US Census and its affiliates, either through non-profit organization in your local area or county, so those people will be just figuring out which people have not reported answer to the questions for census who have been sent these letters to. So they would be, after April 1st, they would be approaching all those households who have not answered those questions. So either it can be through walking to your house, just knocking your door and asking if you can provide that information to them at that point, or there can be some other way, either through phone. So there can be different ways these non-profit organizations who are helping out in census work, so they would be able to figure out. And on April 8 to 16, hard copies of census will be mailed. So basically, census, you can answer either online or by phone or through your normal mail-in postcards which you receive, or a ballot kind of document you will receive where you just check mark things and then you just post it back. And then on April 20th to 27th, final postcards will be mailed. So you see there is a quite extensive, outreach done by US Census just to remind people that this information is required, because if you can think yourself that if government doesn't know how many people are living in a particular community, if they don't have an estimate of that, it would obviously affect, because one of the main purpose of the census is to distribute federal funds and also local funds, because ultimately it's decided based on your locality's demographic. Even if you buy a house, you just look some basic information. Okay, how many people are residing at this particular town? It's 60,000, 70,000, 10,000, 5,000. And it's also information important for businesses, because if some business want to open their branch or their headquarters somewhere, they want to know what kind of population is located there, and the biggest thing, they want to know how much is the population in itself and what kind of diverse communities are living at a particular place. So for distribution of federal and local funds, and also for business purposes, and in addition to that, it would be very crucial to decide what would be the boundaries of your Senate district, of your assembly district, and also at your city level, what would be those boundaries if you just go in much more detail about this population information or demographic info. So these are really very important things you should participate in. And it has been said that about like $2,500 is allocated to one person in California. So if suppose one person doesn't report or those don't answer those questions to US Census Bureau, then your locality is missing $2,500 annually, if I'm right on that, in terms of funds which your locality would have received if you have probably reported 4 or 5 of your family members living at particular household. So when I'm talking about reporting, people get scared, because reporting in itself sounds like enforcement. But by law, US Census Bureau cannot share this information with other federal agencies. And I know there is a great fear about, especially in terms of if you're in minority community, about the immigration issues and all those other things which goes along with it, ICE. So some of the people who don't have documents, and again, one thing I missed to tell about, that it's regardless of your immigration status, it doesn't matter. You should report the information about your household, how many members are living in your household, and the basic information about them, gender, race, ethnicity. So those kind of information you are required to provide. And the immigration matter would not be a relevant part for the US Census. Recently means last year, federal government, current administration want to include a question on US Census Bureau's those reports which you fill in, just to include if you are a US citizen or not. So that question has not been allowed by US Supreme Court. So Supreme Court ruled against it, that question should not be included, because it will I think just create a fear among minority communities. And also the main purpose of US Census is all about to count the population, to count the diversity, different kind of people based on these 3-4 categories of information lies living with you in this community. And also I think our law doesn't discriminate against, even if a person is documented or undocumented. So it makes sense that US Census Bureau doesn't ask for such information, because those people are living there and they are contributing in terms of taxes to either local governments or federal government in itself, and they are waiting for their immigration cases. And I think I don't want to get into detail about that, because, and I know there is a whole lot of politics involved. People, it's a hot button issue, and people have very passionate opinion about this topic of immigration. But for US Census Bureau, that would not be relevant information, and those information online or even in that ballot kind of postcards or pages which you have to fill out for US Census will not ask you for that information. So that being said, so you don't have to fear about anything in terms of getting screwed with your immigration status, or some agencies coming you, it's just approaching you for something. But one thing you have to be careful about, if some person comes to you and asks that I'm from US Census Bureau and you should provide these answers, usually that would not happen at this time. Even if a non-profit would like to approach you, they would have their own credentials, and also mostly they will be approaching you either through phone. After exhausting all the other methods, they will obviously can, but at this point you should, I think, just be vigilant. You should not provide information, because there is a whole lot of scams going on about US Census Bureau, and also the accounting which is involved in it. So just be careful about that. And I have already mentioned about what would be included in those questions, and specific information about Sikh community, because Sikh community has been working from, I think, many years, especially non-profits like United Sikh, Sikh Coalition, Jakara Movement. They have been working out with US Census Bureau so that they can include a special code for designating Sikh as a different, distinct, detailed population in itself. Another thing I'd like to tell you, the US Census Bureau, they doesn't ask you question that what religion you follow. And there was great debate about, okay, Sikh community is in itself a religion, but it's also a culture in itself. So we are fortunate enough that US Census Bureau for 2020 census has allowed that you can write in Sikh word in your ethnicity, in your race, and it would be provided a special code, and it would be counted down under Asian category of race. So there would be no special checkbox. You have to just make sure you have to write it in as Sikh if you want to identify yourself as a Sikh, as one of the Asian category of the people which comes in this whole database. Previously, there was no special code which was provided. Usually people used to use Asian Indians, but now the US Census Bureau has provided special codes. And this is not just for Sikh community. This is also, this 2020 census, there is a special code for Russian, Jordanian, Ghanaian. So these are like different groups which got this detailed, distinct population code in itself. So that's a good thing. At least means in future we would be able to know, especially how many Sikh community members are living there, because previously it was just clubbed out as Asian. So you basically have hard time to know how many members. So you have to use other avenues or maybe some other public surveys. Based on that, you would be able to understand how many Sikh community members are there. Because this information will also be used by businesses, then it's always good that they know that these number of people are living in these particular communities. And also, if you want to engage in with some civic engagement in future, it's good. And election, this is election year, but it would not be it would not be coming up for this election, because the districting will change after 2020. But obviously it would help out in future in any of those practices or events. So this was the information about US Census. I think if you have any questions, you can let me know. The information, as much as I know about, I can able to share that. And also, if we can reach out to other non-profits, I would be able to reach out to them if you need any answer about US Census. And if you need help in terms of just filling out US Census, because our community have many volunteers. So I think if you want to approach me, I can either I can help you, or probably I can touch base some other volunteers in the community who can help you out if you're living far apart. But if you are living in local community, obviously I can able to help you in that. Thanks for watching this video, and again, participate in this US Census if you want to recognize your community, and if you want to show your numbers. It's really very, very important that we show our numbers in US Census, because it's beneficial either in policy making decisions or in business decisions of different corporation. Unless and until you don't show yourself that you are living here, nobody will know about that, and it will create problems in future, because ultimately it's a democracy. So in democracy you have to show numbers. Regardless of that, no one cares about you. So with that message, I think you have understood the importance of US Census. So please participate in that, and if you need any help, ask to me, or we can just get touch base with other volunteers. Thanks for watching these videos, and I will just bring up some other good video with good content about community issues and other important topic going on. Thank you.